This is something that I was explaining to someone. It took so long to explain it over the phone, I decided to make a little video of the audience section and how you can really narrow things down here in Ads Manager. And what I'm about to show you is how to utilize it to see how big your audience really is or isn't. So we're just going to run through some numbers here. As you can see, we have no filters or anything on. We've got 18 to 65 plus. See this audience size, 240,800,000 to 208. Okay, well, that's all of the active marketplace United States users from 18 to 65 because we have United States here. We're going to start narrowing this down and we won't worry about age or gender. First thing I want to show you is when we get into the demographics and behaviors. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit these just to start narrowing things down and show you how quickly audiences drop in size. First thing I'm going to do here is let's, of course, we want customers that buy things, right? Let's go on behaviors, and if you look under digital activities, Facebook payment users last 30 days and 90 days. Let's click those because that's people that have used Facebook Pay in the last 90 days. So we have those in there as a behavior. Look what happened to our numbers already. 428,200 to 503,000. That's right. Just by making those two changes, this is what happened to our audience. Okay, now I'm not saying that that's every purchase on Marketplace, and I'm not saying that these people didn't make multiple purchases. But what I am saying is if Facebook was going to lie about these numbers, they would be larger. So, as you can see here, digital activities, these are people who have used Facebook payments in the last 30 days. This is in the last 90 days. This is the combined, you might as well just call it the 90. I believe if I take this off, it doesn't change. It very, very minimal. But we're going to leave it on there anyway, just to have it there, because we're going to really narrow an audience down to realistically what you're focused on. Okay, so these are people that have used Facebook payments. Now, let's do engaged shoppers. Okay, what this is it would help if I didn't misspell engaged. Of course, it'll go through several engaged shoppers. What that tells you is these are people that have clicked on the call to action button, shop now, in the past week. That's people that we want to see our stuff. Okay, so we were at 400. Now, notice how this bounced right back up. That's because it's pulling off of this metric. That's what it's pulling off of. How you can do this where it doesn't lump all of these categories together is remove it from there and narrow your audience. So now if we narrow the audience to people that have used Facebook Pay and people that have clicked on a Shop Now button, we're cut in half again. This is the difference between adding to a list up here for detailed targeting and actually narrowing your field down. When they talk about narrowing markets or narrowing audiences, they're not referring to doing it all up here. This will just combine these and combine these and combine these, and this audience will get bigger and bigger. So now we're down to 220,000 to 259,000. Well, you can round it up to 221 and 260 if it makes you sleep better. We're only, in essence, two levels deep here, and we've already knocked out hundreds of millions. Okay, so mind you, we're still at 18 to 65, and we know that 18-year-olds for the most part aren't the buyers. So let's put a realistic, the biggest portion of people that spend money on Facebook, unless you're selling Pokemon video games, there's always an exception. This is based on just sheer overall what the statistics say, above 35. But to be fair, we're just going to crank it back to 25. At 25 years old, let's split the difference. 30 years old, they're living on their own, in most cases. So we're going to call it 30 years old. 30 to 65. 215, 254. We only made a difference of about 5,000 on each category. So not too bad. Why did this not move much? Because the 18-year-olds didn't fall into this category. This is called audience narrow. You didn't change this much because below 30 to 18 didn't make much difference in these. Okay, so we've narrowed to engaged shoppers. Now we can narrow further. This is where you start separating. You get major separation. Notice here that our estimated daily reach, it doesn't change because this is all based on your ad spend. If you go back over and put it at $100 a day, this is going to go up tenfold. This will go up tenfold. This has no bearing on this. You can have this say 200 million people, but whatever this says, you are not going to achieve this, the 6.6 thousand, and it's not going to keep you here. It's going to split the difference 90% of the time. I've had a couple of ads that actually exceeded what it said I should get, but who knows. We've just narrowed this down to people that are shoppers, that are buyers on Facebook using Facebook Pay. Now there's still PayPal and other things. However, even if you double this, you're still the 200 million has disappeared tremendously. So now let's go down. We were going to narrow it even more. So let's take something detailed. Okay, so vintage. People sell vintage items. Right here, there is 20 million to 23 million people who have expressed an interest or liked pages related to vintage. That's how marketplace travel, that's how they rate things, is by what these people like to look at on Facebook. And it's also when they go to Marketplace, this is the metric that is used to determine what listings are going to be shown to that person. 215 million, 254 million, thousand rather, I'm sorry. Now we're going to add vintage as a narrowing factor. 10,000 to 12,000. That's how many people that were interested, that went to vintage pages, yada yada. They're engaged shoppers. They at least clicked on a Shop Now button in the last week, and they have used Facebook payments in the last 90 days. We have went from almost 300 million to 12,000 in a few levels. Now, Facebook also gives you some clues. Look at here. Your audience selection is fairly broad. They still call this a broad audience. You have to drop below, I think it's 2,000, maybe 1,000 before this says you need to do more. So see, from 280 million to 12,000, and we're still considered a broad audience. Our same amount of money, this did change here. This changed because there's just not as many here. With there only being 12,000, they're not going to blast those people with your ad over and over and over again. So this number changed because it was changing how many times they can deliver your ad to only this many people. So that's under vintage. Let's get rid of vintage and let's put electronics. This is the same thing. Now notice 343 million, 403 million have expressed an interest. Okay, so did they meet these other criteria? No, not by a long shot. To me, when you start taking out 400 million people just because they haven't done this, and that number obviously is not just the U.S., so might be something a little bit hoodoo there. With electronics, engaged shoppers, Facebook payment users, we went from over 400 million to 49,000, 41,000. So this is what they're talking about when they're talking about narrowing audiences. Because if you just go in here and you just get all, goony goo goo about you just want to reach a huge audience. Okay, engaged shoppers. All right, these are people that clicked on the Shop Now button. All right, 51 million. That's terrific. So we'll just stick it at that. Then we'll just go ahead. We won't do it down here where it's actually narrowing. What we'll do is we'll just put it up here, and we'll put our vintage back. With our vintage, we were at 12,000. So now we put vintage in. Holy cow, we're going to sell like gangbusters. 60 to 70 million people. I need to throw $100 at that? No, you don't. This is just people that just click around and they're not buyers. I'm not saying that you don't try to get those people. Also, you don't throw your ad spend at this number. You want to run a general ad that's going out to everybody just to kind of gain traction. That's fine. But when it comes down to the meat and potatoes, the name of the game is to make sales. So what you really need to do is you need to go in here. I always recommend, if I'm going to run an ad for sales, then I just get right down to the heart of it right off the bat. And I go after people that have used Facebook Pay. Now, if you don't have Facebook checkout, then that's not going to matter that much to you. However, these others will. So in here, I'm going to put my engaged shoppers back in. I'm going to put in, again, I have a bad habit of being redundant. Online shopping, that falls into here. Okay, so I want people here. I'm kind of in disagreement with doing the demographic based on income. I've never seen any real difference in that because you never know. It bases it off zip code. In here, I'm going to put electronics back. Well, you know what? Just to show, let's put something else in here. Let's put pottery. There's a lot of people that sell pottery. People that had an interest in pottery. 16,000 to 19,000. Okay, well, more people were interested in pottery than was vintage that meet these other criteria. What I would do is, okay, 16,000 people to 19,000 people of actual buyers. These people, they click on shop now and they have made a purchase and they're in the category that you're interested in. Now here is where you could go ahead and put in things that would add a little bit. Don't blow your numbers out of the water, but we added vintage. So now we've got 24,000, 29,000. Facebook recommends that you stay under 50,000. That's just a good, safe number. Get these placements out of the way. These are the important ones. Then add your things that would fall in the genre of what you're selling. This will give you a realistic number here. There's also a detailed targeting expansion that'll reach out, if somebody is close to what you've got selected, but not an exact match. But you see that blows your numbers out right here. I don't like this because it has a tendency of wasting your ad spend because it's going to, you already know by unclicking this, here's the actual number of people that truly fit. So if you want to add to this, don't do it with this per se. Do it with this. So what goes with pottery and vintage? Well, people that like vintage stuff and pottery, they may like crystal. I'm just pulling things out of the air here. Just use crystal as a blanket thing. Maybe you have a little bit. Now we're at 40,000 to 47,000. We're right at what Facebook recommends that we stay at. 50,000 or below. We're right there at it. So we've really narrowed down an audience. But I'm not by any means saying that this is 100% the way to do things. Don't get me wrong. I've never been that kind of person in my life. However, I am saying that true audience defining is needed, and looking at realistic numbers will help you a lot. And spending a little bit of time in here rather than just click and boost is going to give you better results. This is truly targeting. This was based on $20 a day. We'll take that down to $10 a day. And then it's telling us, this isn't a big reach. It's not. However, this $10 a day going toward actual people that are qualified, that you've pre-qualified for your product, is a lot better than, let's say you remove this. Let's remove our filters. To be fair, we'll leave engaged shoppers on there and we'll leave our little subcategories. 12,900,000 to 15 million. How many of those you think they're going to let you see your product for $10? Yeah, these numbers went up a little bit, not enough to justify not narrowing your audience. I hope that this will help someone. That's always my ultimate goal is, we're all kind of fishing in this same pond, and we are in competition a lot of times, but that's sales, that's business, and just how things go. But hope everyone has a wonderful day and happy selling.